Dearest Brianna Wu, shaved horse-looking developer of Revolution 60, inventor of the tactical Moonrocks defense system, and the reason why children check behind the shower curtain before sitting down to take a poop, what kind of blithering idiot are you to think you could fool anybody into buying this glorified deviant art gallery full of self-insert tranny porn of a game? After I decided to pen this letter, I discovered that the torrent I had previously utilized was deleted as the uploaders realized that even free was too high a price to pay for Revolution 60. I would call this game Revolution 60 copies sold, but then I'd have to spot Brianna 59 sales, and frankly, spotting Brianna Wu is something no one should do save for those scrolling through the internet database of registered sex offenders. Revolution 60, aka How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Just Flip the Assets, aka Detroit Become Woo-Man, aka I Have No Penis and I Must Cream, is why H.P. Lovecraft knew better than to describe certain horrors. He once said, and I quote, "The most merciful thing in the world is the inability of the human mind to comprehend Revolution 60. Someday, the piecing together of flipped assets will open such terrifying vistas of reality, and of our frightful position therein, that we shall either go mad or cut off our penises and call our detractors misogynists, even though we look more like a drowned bird than an actual woman." Now, I know most people watching this video have never heard of Revolution 60, its development studio, Giant Space Cat, or the 5 unpaid fat chicks who were forced to code this testament to man's sin at the bottom of a well, while Brianna danced nude to Goodbye Horses, cradling a frozen dog against his hairy man-tits and chanting, "It flips the assets in the game, or else it gets the hose again." But this is no one-shit wonder developer. Giant Space Cat captured lightning in a butthole, and Revolution 60 is their magnum anus. Graphically, Revolution 60 resembles a half-rate version of one of those Indian iPad games about seducing your neighbor's dog, has the color palette of a 1990s era Trapper Keeper, and comes off as some sort of high-profile polygon laundering scheme. I can only imagine an intern at Giant Space Cat Studios nervously slipping through security with a briefcase full of embezzled polygons to sell on the black market. A single fat juicy titty, and Dead or Alive 3 has more coding than this entire game. And while I've always secretly longed for a bike with hexagonal wheels comprised of slices of upside-down pineapple sponge cake, I've generally expected those wheels to actually move. The scant few cutscenes appear as though slathered with Vaseline, which is oddly fitting for a game that is so synonymous with the sensation of being fucked in the ass. Overall, Revolution 60's art style reminds me of Blade Runner, not because of the neon lighting and robotic geisha girls, but because the graphics make me want to run a blade across my wrists. Please bear in mind that if the graphics look slightly less horrific in this review than in others, then I shelled out an extra $3 for the special edition. However, that isn't as special as in something great, but more like special as in retarded. If Revolution 60 was a person, we'd either keep it out of our family photos altogether, or do our utmost to tuck its fat dangling tongue into the front breast pocket of its Thomas the Tank Engine pajamas, and pray that its wandering eye distracts from its leaking erection. In Rev 60, you play as Holiday, whose name was probably chosen because her boy pussy resembles a holiday ham after the bone has been ripped out of the center. This degenerate toilet seat sniffer has hair like Cockstroker's Dracula, a nose adapted in the Galapagos Islands for cracking open coconuts, chipmunk cheeks perfect for gargling nuts, and a horrific mangled penis. But enough about Revolution 60's producer Brianna Wu, and back to the protagonist. She is billed as a vehicular combat assassin, despite not even looking slightly Asian, and it's no wonder she's so grotesquely skinny that you could break her jaw by feeding her an almond. joining Holiday on his never-ending quest to justify the developers embezzling their $200,000 budget are three completely forgettable nobodies who all look like they just sucked a lemon out of each other's assholes. The plague which festers in the back of my mind like an infected wound is the lingering dread that someone will create source filmmaker porn of these abominations, and I'll never be able to unsee it. Save for my swallowing a bullet mid-flight. The story of Revolution 60 kicks off with a circus clown with a heart of gold and a post-op pussy that resembles one of Ronald McDonald's shoes, manifesting a thermos full of hormone supplements from his own explosive queefs, and the quality of the narrative only goes downhill from there. I hope for your sake that you purchase the Revolution 60 companion novel, not because reading it is the only way to have any idea about what the fuck is supposed to be going on in this self-filleting farce, but so that you can keep your balls warm by burning your copy of the novelization while you play. Thanks to Obamacare and the sort of amateurish writing that normally ends with the phrase,
"And then my dad told me he was proud of me for seducing the entire cast of Mass Effect 3, and that I'm not a disappointment to the entire family after all."
Val can only be healed with nanomachines that turn her evil. An imbecile with a Valentine's Day headband glued to her skull and a failed attempt to pull her receding hairline back into place arrives and immediately begins threatening everybody who doesn't follow her orders. A fourth character with absolutely zero defining character traits, beyond looking like a flight attendant for Down Syndrome Airlines, rounds out our cast, and the suffering begins proper. At this point, I just want to state for the record that Frank Wu is a hack writer with more house pets in his stomach than original ideas in his brain. Aboard this space station he designed to resemble the fidget spinners he desperately focuses his attention on while biting the corner of his Sonic the Hedgehog blankets and crushing Brianna Wu's wrist with his sphincter, the artificial intelligence Crimson 09 has been driven insane in the membrane by the revelation that its entire concept of a character is plagiarized wholesale from the crazed AI AM from the infinitely superior story I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. This AI, understanding the complete lack of talent of its creator, comes to the most obvious conclusion possible given its situation, that China must be bombed. Fortunately, this space base is replete with robotic street meat that's absorbed so much skeet that they came to life. Kinda like that sock I had to burn because it kept whispering terrible things to me at night, and Crimson 09 downloads itself into one of the robotic geisha bodies. Our previously mentioned troop of rejected models of stickbug robots from Transformer Beast Wars is then lured into the base so that they can be paused in the egg hole with some nanomachine egg rolls and coerced into activating the station's weaponry themselves. Along the way, Chinese militants dressed entirely in Tupperware attack our troop of half-melted Barbie dolls to prevent them from deactivating the weapons aimed at China that they also want to disable and have no reason for not allowing our protagonist from destroying, simply because Frank Wu became distracted and wandered out into the street chasing a butterfly, halfway through trying to figure out how to explain this plot hole which gapes almost as badly as he does. Don't believe me? Follow the lad home from Chipotle on a Taco Tuesday. He farts like a foghorn. 2 hours of recycled fights in gray hallways later, and pretty much everyone in the game wants to kill Holiday as badly as the player, despite the fact that all she wants to do is stop Crimson 09 before it blows up this JPEG of the Earth and use whatever public restrooms she wants. If you're wondering why Crimson 09 has bioweapons pointed at China specifically, I can only surmise that it's because she had a reverse yellow Uno card. The real threat to human life, after all, would be the spores of vaporized Chinamen blowing across the ocean and infecting healthy white people. Depending on which color-coded dialogue choices you made, one of several endings that will satisfy no one play out. Gameplay can be broken down into 4 categories, and I do mean broken. As it turns out, The title Revolution 60 has no relation to Brianna Wu's personal record for replicating that viral meat spin video we all know and love, and more accurately represents the 60 attempts it will take most players to trace a path around this circle following the final fight of the game, due to the QuickTime event in question being misaligned and never patched. Fittingly enough, the only punishment for missing a QuickTime event is further prolonging the game. I kept pressing the wrong buttons on purpose, hoping something would kill me. Not my in-game character, mind you, but me in real life, so that I could flee from this metaphysical hell into the less horrible by comparison embrace of the lake of fire that awaits me. Combat reminds me of Dragon Ball Z, since you'll spend 90% of each fight charging spirit bombs in a corner, and when Holiday walks while wearing a skirt without panties, she's also dragging balls. These repetitive battles against a whopping 2 enemy types require the ability to stare at a cooldown timer while enemies attack empty spots completely at random. Impressively, Holiday has a 3-second refractionary period, while I generally require a nap, a sandwich, and acknowledging a restraining order between shots. Most of your time will be spent moseying at the speed of smell. The smell of Holiday's dangly old man balls, to be exact. This game has more barren passages than its target audience of elderly lesbians, and frankly, if I wanted to walk behind a homely white woman while she walked alone in a poorly lit alley, I'd just turn the game off, wait in the alley behind the Fuddruckers, and get down to business, baby. The segments where you have to type phrases to proceed made me feel a little bit like I was playing Typing of the Dead on the inside, and strangely enough for a game that was supposedly designed with inclusivity in mind. Revolution 60 requires the terribly ableist abilities to read, complete reflex-based prompts, and hold back your vomit to complete. I can see why this game won so many awards for Best Sega Saturn Game of 1995, especially when I hold handfuls of money over my eyes. Revolution 60 has a theme of halves. One girl is half robot, one half bug, the other half male, and Revolution 60 itself is practically half of a game. I would guarantee I've made more money on my ebooks than this digitized abortion will ever make, but judging from the final product, I'm pretty sure the developers embezzled 90% of their Kickstarter money to pay off the parents of all the children Brianna Wu lured into the sewers with her deadlights. Fortunately, more people will watch this review than will ever play the game, but perhaps I'm being too subjective in my assessment, and my complaints are simply the result of a cultural difference. While the smelly feet vapors Holiday produces every time she levels up because no surgery can get rid of those pungent man-toes just waiting to be sucked on, make me want to publicly state that I have evidence that will lead to the arrest of a Clinton. Maybe if I were trans myself, this would all make sense. Perhaps a more relatable example of this sort of cultural difference can be found in the colloquial term click and clack. Now, to the average white American, click and clack were the names of the hosts of the now defunct NPR show Car Talk, while to our African American friends, click and clack is just how their relatives in Africa say hello and goodbye. Well, that's it for today's video. I would like to thank everyone who shared the links, popped in during a stream, or sent me a photograph of their sister's stinky little feet via Discord. As always, thanks for coming out. God, find a way to redeem us, please. And